Hey everyone, welcome to the FilmIn5D Podcast, episode 8. Made it to 8 episodes, almost to 10.
Wow.
What is our goal, by the way? I know we had a 52 episode goal for the show. Should we say like 25 is the goal? 50, 100?
I was thinking like 1 million subscribers.
Ooh. The subscriber count on iTunes is not improving. YouTube's doing pretty good, but not because of these videos. Because of videos I've been making on the side.
Well, excuse me, Aaron.
It's not your fault. It's just, whatever. Let's get to the show. This is just a hidden gem. The people who watch all the way through, which there are people who comment on the videos who are watching all the way to the end because they're asking questions about things randomly in the middle.
Oh, that's cool.
So we got a few fans. So, what came out this week? Actually, hold on. Gotta do the rundown.
Okay.
My bad. So we're going to talk about what came out this week. News and rumors. A whole bunch of stuff happened on Wednesday. Today's Friday. We're recording this for Monday. Whole bunch of stuff happened. I wasn't prepared for it, but we got it handled now. We got it covered. And I'm going to do a tutorial on digital sensors. Get a little bit more into that. You're going to do some more crowdfunding stuff, which sounds like a rehash. Are we in episode 7 again? Anyways, and then we're going to do our traditional, as you can see behind us. This was our very first, we'll get into that later. This is our very first Mac versus PC. There's a story behind this. We're going to do a Mac versus PC where I'm going to fight his Mac and you're going to fight his PC, and we're going to duke it out and see in the comments who wins.
Wait. Do I have to, personify a rabid PC guy?
That you hate Mac users, you think that, we'll talk about this when we get there. All right, sorry, what came out this week? We're on Rotten Tomatoes.
Meet Earl and a Dying Girl.
Come on. What came out this week?
Jurassic World, baby.
Which I always find curious to see that it has a 87% liked it and a 71% critic score, which is pretty good. It's not certified fresh, but pretty good for, I was going to see this movie regardless because Chris Pratt's in it, and I like to support movies that he's in, and I think he's really good. But I was a little bit scared about it. I thought this was a little bit of a cash grab kind of movie. I was definitely worried about it. Too much CGI or whatever.
I know. That's the one thing that really turned me off when I was seeing, trailers and stuff for it. I was like, what are these dinosaurs? They look so...
Him working with the raptors and stuff. I'll give it a chance. I'm going to see it tomorrow. But it is getting good reviews, so that's good. Anything else you want to say about this? Actually, I do have a quote. I forgot to do the quote.
Ah.
Clever girl.
That's that Raptor Hunter guy.
Yes. I feel like I tried to look up a better quote from the first movie. Honestly, that is the best quote. Jeff Goldblum does kind of funny acting stuff, like lines where he just goes on and on. But they're just not really a quotable. Like, clever girl, everybody knows that's the guy right before he gets killed by the raptor.
What about nature or something always finds a way? I don't know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, that was the Jeff Goldblum one.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, we're going with clever girl. So, moving on real quick. We have a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff came out today. Hopefully you guys find it interesting. I'm super excited.
Super excited.
Super. So I saw Tomorrowland. You haven't seen that. You saw Mad Max twice.
Yes, I did.
Why didn't you see Tomorrowland?
'Cause it's not like a Disney franchise that I'm familiar with, so I'm not gonna throw my money.
Well, it's a brand new Disney franchise. It's like Tomorrowland's like a section of the park.
Yeah, therefore it's gonna fail.
So obviously I was pretty negative about this movie, I think, when we were talking about it last.
Yeah.
I saw it. Obviously it's got 50%. Only 57% people liked it, which is a very big red flag. Mm-hmm. So what this tells me is half the people liked it and half the people hated it. I usually would assume that I would land on the half that hated it, but I really enjoyed this movie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was, I'll give it credit that it was a little bit slow at parts. The pacing was not perfect, but honestly, it was just like the special effects, like the acting, like everything else was really, really good about it. The story, it was actually so George Clooney, there's a little actor who plays him at the in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I was like, that guy looks like the kid from Looper, like the crazy, like supernatural power kid.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no, but it's not him. That's the kid from this other movie where I think it's Jason Bateman and the girl, Rachel from Friends, whatever her name is. He's in it, and he's like, kind of plays the same kind of kid. And then literally, it flash forwards to the main actress's brothers is the actor from Looper. So like I was watching, I was like, that guy looks like from Looper. Oh no, he's from that different movie. And then literally the actor from Looper's, and I'm like, what a coincidence. Like they just used two actors that looked identical, which had nothing to do with it at all. But I don't know, I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's for everybody, but I definitely liked it and I would see it again. I'm glad I went to go see it in theaters because it was definitely a better experience to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, to double down on your thing about the pacing, I didn't see it, but I did read somebody's comment on the internet. They were saying, I forgot the exact word they were using, but there was a big chunk of the movie kind of dedicated to like setting things up or something.
So we talked about this, about how like a watch, or a clock is a movie, and then like it's like broken into like 3 or 4 sections.
Yeah.
Where they spent 80% of the movie kind of building it up and doing character development stuff, and it was like, I enjoy that stuff, so maybe I'm a little biased because I prefer that more than like the big cliche ending and action, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's why I liked it more than people who just go to the theaters just to see explosions and want to see Transformers and Michael Bay.
Oh boy.
We won't get into that. We need to have a Shia LaBeouf argument at some point, even though I don't know how one of us is gonna. Yeah, this isn't movie fights, but I feel like we need to have a discussion about that. All right, news and rumors.
News.
Lots came out this week, but before we talk about it, I pre-ordered my 85mm.
I know. I read that and I was like, what?
$1,200 lens. I pre-ordered it. There was a discount on Sony Alpha Rumors, or they announced that like B&H was giving like $50 store credit for if you pre-ordered it, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get this lens anyways. This is gonna be like my go-to like photography portrait lens, and everybody's been saying good things about it, and it's image stabilized. It's got the OLED display, everything. We've already talked about it, so I did pre-order it, and I'm not gonna get the 25, the 85 definitely. And I think it's going to be my 55 and my 85 are going to be my go-to photography lenses. My 35, I honestly might even sell. I like that it's small and stuff, but we'll see.
That is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so enough about that. But I'll be doing a review. I think it comes out in the middle of July, so about a month from now I'll be doing a review. I'm going to take it out to Balboa Park and shoot around and stuff. Okay, so we've been talking for the last 2 episodes about A7r II rumors. And you had thoughts, I had thoughts. We talked a little bit about the A7s II potentially.
Yeah.
This camera, I could not believe what I was reading. That includes all this stuff. Let me pull up the screen real quick. So, also the rx100 Mark IV came out. And then the RX-10 came out. 2. So, just quickly, what are the highlights when you look at this, the new A7r II? First of all, it's a $3,200 camera. It's $1,000 more than the original. It's more than my A7S, which was $2,500. It's about the price of a Canon. We talked about the 5DS and those cameras, the 50 megapixel cameras. Those are, around $3,800. So those are a little more expensive, a little higher megapixel. But what does this camera have that those cameras just do not have?
Native 4K.
Internal 4K, the first ever full frame internal 4K sensor, backlit. It's got all this new technology, all this stuff that kind of makes it work. And the biggest thing for me, let me see if I can pull it up on the Sony site. Obviously, it's 42 megapixels, so even higher resolution. We thought it was going to be 36. You thought it was going to be 36. I thought it was going to be the 58. It turns out it's actually kind of in the middle. It's 42. It's a little bit of an upgrade. The biggest thing for me, though, was the fact that... So the cool thing about the A7S is that it has the 12 megapixel sensor, which isn't good for photography. But because it has that size of a sensor, it's able to suck in more light because the sensors and the pixels are a little bit bigger. but also there's no down resing. It's pixel for pixel readout, so there's no line skipping, there's no pixel binning, you don't get any moire or crazy dancing lines or anything like that. So to me, that is the ideal 4K video camera. Now, when you're talking about a high megapixel camera like this, 42 megapixels, the first thing you think about is, oh man, there's going to be some, is it going to have a filter over it to stop it from moire? Is it going to have all these extra things like that the 5D Mark III has? Because that's a 22 megapixel camera. And the answer is no. They figured out a way to basically, if you look on screen right here, we have the traditional, full frame, and then they have a super 35 millimeter equivalent. And these both, you can shoot in 4K. Obviously the full frame is going to give you a little bit better light conditions. It's going to give you a little bit more depth of field range. But the super 35 is literally the depth of field you get on a film camera. So if you're trying to get the film look, 90% of the time you're going to want to shoot in the super 35. And the super 35 does not have any pixel binning. So this is a pixel for pixel readout of 4K. So all this extra is what makes up. I think this is 1.8 times the size, so instead of having 8 million pixels, this has 16 million pixels, but they're able to, I guess, cut it in half perfectly so that there's no kind of any tricks going on. So that to me was the cool thing, that you can switch between these two modes, shoot 4K in both these modes. The full frame one will have a little bit of moire because it's not as perfect of a down res, but it's not nearly as bad as some of these other. I mean, the A7r II you couldn't use it for video. Like it would just down res it to 1080p, and it was just not. You're going from 36 million pixels to 2, and it was just not a pretty sight. Anything else?
I think the sensors. Oh no, wait, never mind. That was for the other camera.
It's fine.
It's a 350% faster image processing rate, right?
Yeah, it's going to have some upgrades like that. The coolest thing to me is it's like I wouldn't call it a 400 point autofocus, but it's got a bunch it's 399 phase detect autofocus points. And it actually shoots 5 FPS burst, which for 42 megapixels is a lot. I mean, you're taking 5 a second, like that's pretty good. It's only burst, so you can't do it forever, but that's pretty good for maybe using for sports, maybe a little bit. And since the autofocus is so much way quicker than the A7S, it's got all those extra sensors on it, from 12 million to 42 million in terms of the pixels. The autofocus is super accurate and super quick.
Yeah, I think they're listening to the people on that one, because from what I heard, the first one, the autofocus was not great.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, the autofocus on all these first generation cameras was not very good. You kind of had to finesse it, and like if you just went full auto, you get more things in focus in the background than in the foreground. It was not good at kind of detecting it. Obviously, like we thought, it has the IBIS 5-axis, so all your lenses are going to be stabilized now. You don't have to have special stabilized lens. All your primes, you can run around and shoot, and they're going to be fully stabilized. And I've seen this thing in action. I've used it, and it's freaking awesome in terms of the IBIS. There's no, this obviously, it can now shoot silent like the A7 and the A7S. These are all things we predicted. It has the better body, but the biggest thing is just, obviously, going up to 42 megapixels and the 4K internally at 100 megabytes per second, which is exactly the same as the GH4. I just thought, like we talked about last time, the sensor's 4 times as big. Like, the amount of heat that's going to generate, so basically the bottom line, I want this camera. I see this camera, I'm going to wait, I'm not going to get it day one. I might get it 6 months after it releases, after I find out, does it actually hold up in terms of, 40, is it able to, keep the heat down and everything. This to me seems like a perfect B camera. It's a perfect photography and video combined camera. Technically, the image coming out of my A7S is still going to be better. It's still more light sensitive. This is pretty good with 25. I think it's rated at 25K, expandable to 100. The A7S is rated at 100K, expandable to 400,000. So usually you don't shoot above 12,000. That's pretty much like the upper limit for good clean video. The A7S is still, with that whole setup, going to output a better video because there's no down resing at all. There's no pixel binning, no more, nothing. But the fact that you can do a 35 millimeter equivalent on this makes it special for filmmaking. And it's like, this whole package right here, with the Shogun and the A7S, that's a $3,500. No, sorry, $4,500 purchase. Like you think about this, and you don't get the external monitor, but maybe you already have one, and you don't need it to record the 4K, so your files are going to be a little bit smaller, and it's all internal. It's going to be a wait and see, but I feel like if I'm going to get a second camera, this is perfect for me because I want to have a camera that can shoot nice landscapes and nice portraits and stuff, which the A7S 12 megapixels doesn't really hold up as great as something like this kind of camera, especially in terms of like autofocus and everything else.
Yeah, did you check out Todd Northrup's
Yes.
on this?
Yes.
Yeah, I watched that. It's pretty cool.
So on screen right now, basically, they have this new sensor. They had the same thing with the A7S, but this is the first backlit version. Essentially, is the difference. I'm gonna talk about that during the tutorial part of this section, in section 3. Moving on, the rx100 Mark IV came out. Now, I just saw the specs for this about a couple hours before we started shooting this. What's the big thing here? It's $200 more, $150 more than my Mark III, and it's got basically the same body, it's got the viewfinder and everything else.
The super crazy sensor.
So remember we predicted this would have a bigger sensor. It has the exact same size sensor, same megapixels, everything. The processor might be a little faster, whatever. But what's the big thing here?
You can do solo?
It shoots 4K.
Oh.
This little tiny camera shoots 4K just like I don't know what technology they unlocked to be able to do this, but it's going to be a wait and see because I have to see, can this thing actually shoot 4K on these little tiny batteries it comes with? I mean, those batteries, when I'm shooting video on that, those batteries run out in 45 minutes. I can't imagine shooting 4K. Like, how is it going to be better?
Yeah, I
But,
didn't know that thing can shoot 4K.
Yeah, and to your point, it can shoot over 900 plus FPS. Now, they don't say what resolution that is. That might be like 480 or something, or 720. So it'd be good if it was 720, but 900 FPS? That's like the Red Epic can't even do that. Like, that's freaking insane.
Yeah, from what I understand, the sensor is very quick too, and
maybe that's why they kept it small, so that they didn't have to. They were able to do all these extra specky things to make you want to buy it. Whereas if they made it a bigger sensor, it would have been a little bit better image quality and a little bit better low light performance. But they thought that it'd be cooler if we could actually get 4K in this thing, and we could do the super 900. I have to see that to believe that. I mean, there's no consumer cameras that do that. This is a prosumer camera, I guess you would say. Now, I mean, God, it's a pocket camera. It's almost over $1,000. That seems insane to me. I love my Mark III, but I have no interest in getting this one. If I'm going to get another B camera, it's going to be a full A7 camera that can use all my lenses. Since I'm going to have 6 lenses, I want to be able to utilize that. It has S-Log 2. Like, these are just all things that the A7S has and that the A7r II has, and this has it in a little camera. It's pretty insane. All right, moving on. So I have on here, before I knew all this news and all, I was kind of contemplating, would the A7r II have a curved sensor? It does not, as we know by the release on Wednesday. What do you think a curved sensor would affect? Why would that be like a cool, interesting thing to do? Kind of like how they're curving, new OLED TVs. What would curving the sensor achieve?
I have no clue. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, it's not a thing. It was a rumor that the A7r II would have that. Now, it got me a little excited about it. So basically what it means is when you have lenses, most lenses, especially the Sony Zeiss and the Zeiss lenses, are sharp right in the dead center. No matter what aperture or whatever, they're always sharp right in the middle. It's when you get to the edges and you start to get a little bit out of focus, a little bit less sharp. So the curved sensor would obviously, negate that. It would be curved inward, so that basically the sensor on the edges is closer to the lens, and so that you don't get that kind of crazy. It would be basically like a perfect circle, so that every point of the light that's coming into the lens is hitting the sensor at the same point, no matter what direction the light's coming. The photons, I guess. So everything is sharp. And that, obviously they'd have to, I think the trick with that is that not all these lenses that are out right now are probably designed not for that. So they'd have to come out with new lenses that take into account that it's the same equidistant. And so then you get all lenses that are sharp edge to edge, which is cool, a cool thought, but didn't happen this time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay, we got a few more news and rumors. El Capitan got announced on Monday at the WWDC. There was really no hardware. They just announced iOS, Apple Watch, 2, not the hardware, but the software.
I was about to say, dude.
And then El Capitan, which is the next, after Yosemite. What's the interesting thing that we found out on Canon Rumors?
It's with improved performance with Adobe.
So
stuff.
we're gonna have our Mac versus PC argument. I will concede right now that Adobe runs smoother on my PC. It's a PC platform. It started that way. Obviously, Final Cut was Mac, and then kind of Adobe kind of jumped over to Mac and kind of did them both, but the bread and butter was PC. The thing about Mac, and until CS6 this was true, basically there was really no way to accelerate to use the GPU to help you with rendering and stuff like that. And they came out with OpenCL, which is kind of a virtual CUDA, if you will. Whereas on PC you actually have CUDA cores, and that's what we're going to talk about next, is CUDA versus OpenCL. And essentially what it boils down to is that OpenCL is kind of a virtual thing, and CUDA are the actual cores on the thing that your computer can access on a PC. And they have virtual CUDA on Mac, but they don't have actual. And so they rely on this OpenCL, which does a good job, but it's not nearly as fast. And that's why most 3D graphic designers do not use Macs, because it just does not have the GPU capabilities. You want to use those $600 really good GPUs to render your stuff at a decent speed to work at, So El Capitan, which we have on the screen right now, Adobe is saying that they're using this new metal framework, and I have no idea which GPUs this is going to be compatible with. I would assume that it's any of the new Macs, maybe not mine, we'll see. But they're showing 40% on paper, or 40 times on paper, but about an 8 times improvement with After Effects, which would be insane. I mean, After Effects is one of the programs I use on a daily basis on my Mac that definitely gets bogged down. If it's 8 times faster, that's just going to be insane. Especially if I don't have to make any hardware adjustments. So it's cool that Apple, because basically OpenCL, like I said, came out about 5 years ago, is when they started utilizing that. Before that, nobody was using Adobe on Macs, because it was just, Final Cut was just so much faster, because it didn't, I wouldn't say it was faster, but PC was so much faster with Adobe because it was taking advantage of that Mercury engine and all that stuff. Old lingo there. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. Obviously, it's a free update, which is always nice. Mac,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on. Section 3. What time are we at? I'm gonna do this in under 5 minutes. I was going to do a basic tutorial on digital sensors. What makes the A7s, A7r II so sensitive? What do you think? I'll pull up the image that we were looking at before.
They were raised by a single mother. They had a lot of sisters.
So basically, obviously, removing the whole mirror mechanism and all that, that's helping with the sensitivity of these. Well, we don't even have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Basically, what the A7S did was that it took all the copper wiring and all the kind of circuitry that you get on a sensor and took it off the front and put it on the back, so that the light coming in at different angles wasn't going to hit that little tiny micro copper wire and bring in the maximum amount of light. What the A7r II does is it actually moves the lighting mechanism to the back and not the front. So while the pixels are smaller and it's got way more dense pixels, so it's not soaking up as much light as the A7S, because it doesn't have anything blocking its way at all, it's still got a reasonable amount of like we said, it's rated at 25K, which is pretty good. It's like 5D Mark II level. 5D Mark III, sorry. Any thoughts about that?
I don't know. That stuff seems pretty complicated. I'm kind of confused about this new like backlight thing.
Well, so the other thing they've done is so pixels like on a Canon are they're going to be like this, like American flag style. Like actually that's a bad example. American flag style is what the gapless is, where it's like boom, 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 boom. And it's like each pixel is kind of overlapped with another. Yeah. So it's almost like polygons, like fitting in perfectly versus like in a line. Yeah. So all the other camera sensors use the line method. Sony with the sensors starting with the A7s had this gapless technology. So that was another thing where they're able to fit more pixels, bigger pixels, in the same amount of space. It's all about the size of the pixel that can bring in the light. And obviously the architecture of like, is the copper wires behind it? Is it back illuminated? Stuff like that.
When you're saying pixel, you're saying like one little thing that it takes.
So if there's
data?
42 megapixels, that's 42 million little dots, and each one of those is pulling in the light. So each pixel, on a scale from 0 to 225 or whatever the grayscale is, from white to black. I forget. Sorry, it's not 255 or whatever. It's not. I don't know what it is. But so whatever that's 50 Shades of Grey. No.
No, I was just laughing because I was just like, whoa, wait, that's almost like you have this like little like computer screen or something that like, well, not computer screen, but like the pixel equivalent of a computer screen or whatever, taking in the data from real world light, mm-hmm. like directly converting that into this digital image with pixels.
That's how it works.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's how it works. And so when we're talking about how do you get a video look or how do you get away from the video look, the video look has very clipped whites and crushed blacks. There's not very much range. The window's going to be blown out and then the shadow in the corner is going to be completely black. So what these new cameras have been revolutionizing and evolving into, you get the gapless thing, you get the pixels a little bit bigger so that each individual pixel can bring in more, a wider range of values between white and black. So obviously that helps give you more dynamic range, which helps you get the film look, which is obviously the max dynamic range.
But you're saying the backlight thing helps this?
The backlight, so if you look on here,
yeah.
So here was the conventional. This is what you get with the, I guess the A7s. And so this is still behind, so there's still nothing in front of it, but there's no back illuminated. It's kind of like, think of this as like kind of a mirror shooting into, whereas this is shooting out.
Yeah, I'm just still a little confused. Maybe it's kind of technical. I'm not sure if you can explain this to me, but I don't know.
I can't. I mean, this is super technical, and I wish I was a micro engineer and knew about this stuff. But I just know that they're just trying to get the most out of the light. Mm-hmm. And that's why the A7s does crazy things. And the A7R will never compete with it because it's using 3 times as many pixels. It is 4 times as many. It just can't compete. Like, its pixels are 3 to 4 times smaller and bringing in 3 to 4 times less light. But the back illuminated is somewhat bridging the gap a little bit because the A7S doesn't have that. The A7S II will, and that's probably going to be a crazy 1 million ISO camera. Like, unbelievable, Mm-hmm. It's going to be, I mean, in this sense, the film digital has surpassed film immensely. Obviously, in Hollywood, they don't give a shit because they're shooting everything with 10,000 watts of light in every scene, mm-hmm. and then like really low, shooting at 100 ISO. They don't need to shoot at 12,000 ever. So that's that. Just a quick little thing. Cool. It'll be, like I said, I'll be interested to see how the A7S II, will it also stay 12 megapixels again? My guess will be yes. The only thing to me is, have they figured out something where they can have a 24 megapixel sensor and then still have shoot in 4K but have no issues? It seems like the A7R II is pretty close with that. We'll see if the A7S can bump up the megapixel a little bit and see if it's able to still achieve the same results, if not better results, with the new back illuminated thing. Alright, so you're going to talk about crowdfunding.
Yeah, I just want to...
Do you have a site that I don't need to look up?
I can tell you the information I have here.
Well, I want the rest of the audience to see it.
Oh, okay. Well, the first article I'm going to be referencing is off The Verge. I guess you could just look up The Verge and Kickstarter.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, but that's just like a news site. I'm referencing an article.
Yeah, my internet's not really working very well.
Okay. Well, anyways, so, yeah, I'm sure it's on other places on the internet. But apparently, you know how before you were talking about one of the pitfalls of things like Kickstarter and stuff, and people can just like up and at it, take your money, do whatever.
Not
yeah.
make a thing.
Yeah. Apparently, FTC, Federal Trade Commission, has announced that it's going to start cracking down on people.
So who's going to pay for that? Is it coming out of my pocketbook? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. They didn't really elaborate on that.
I like that, but you know, it's always like, who's paying for that crackdown?
Yeah, that is true. But apparently it's already started. I don't know if this was the FTC, but...
So this is the big news, this is the big thing that you wanted to address? Because I had that concern last time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because obviously it's a valid concern and stuff is actually starting to take action. Like, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And it's already actually happened too. They recently passed a 112,000K judgment, on... I don't know who it is. It's on one specific Kickstarter campaign.
What do you mean 120K judgment?
$112,000 they have to pay back.
But who's deciding whether or not that it's a fraud?
The judge, the court, the law, the American law.
America.
So yeah, I think with some regulation like this, it'll get a little bit more interesting. Oh yeah, I just remembered another thing. I forgot. Do you know what's that director's name?
Blomkamp?
No, UWE. I don't know.
What did he direct?
Savage, I think.
No.
Oh, it's Bull or something like.
Usain Bolt?
No, a direct dude.
I don't know. You didn't say a movie.
Here, let me see. Let me try and find it really quick.
Is it that important?
Yeah, because he released it. Excuse me. Yeah, it's Bull. Boll.
Never heard of it.
What did he direct? Oh, let's see. Postal, Rampage.
I have not seen any of those movies.
Alone in the Dark.
I've seen Alone in the Dark.
House of the Dead.
Alone in the Dark was pretty bad, but...
Well, anyways, apparently he recently had a Kickstarter campaign or something like that. I think it was for Rampage 3, and it didn't get funded. And he posted a funny video, basically raging at everyone and saying "F Hollywood." Yeah.
So that's pretty irrelevant.
No. But it was funny because he was trashing on like I think he was trashing on the Avengers and other movies like that, basically saying they were crap, and saying like why don't people recognize that, his movie is good, but yeah, I think in the case of Kickstarter, in that case, yeah, it was like a direct answer, like no, nobody cared about seeing that movie, so you don't get the money.
Yeah, if your movie's not getting funded on Kickstarter, what just got funded on Kickstarter? Was Super Troopers 2 got funded on Kickstarter?
Yeah.
So it's like, if it gets funded within the first day, then people want to see it, they want to go pay to see it and all this stuff. If your movie's not even reaching your goal, and you've made Hollywood movies before, then maybe you should think twice about your script and if people actually really want to go see your movie, and stop being so pretentious about it and making, taking it out on Avengers and stuff. That's my point. Cool. So we only have 25 minutes to have our battle. So I figured we should do this. So we're going to go ahead and go screens off for this. I'm going to actually stop the recording on here. I don't want you looking up anything during this.
Okay.
Mac versus PC. Okay, so let me start off with a little story. So in 2011, November, we made our first Mac versus PC sketch. I played the hipster Mac. You played the douche PC guy.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything specific about why this was ironic? I had not been converted yet.
Yeah.
So I was playing Mac, and we were essentially making fun of Mac the whole time. It was like you were making fun of me. It was just like it was the opposite of the commercial, obviously, that you used to see, where they'd make fun of PC and we were making fun of Mac. And then a month later, for Christmas, I got my first iPhone 4S. And then we did all those episodes on how to shoot with it, and then obviously, long story short, I have an iPad now, I have an Apple Watch, I have a Retina MacBook, I have an iPhone 5S. So obviously, I was super negative about it, and now I'm not. I still have a PC that I play games on, that I edit on primarily when I'm not at work. So I do like both. But I'm going to fight exclusively for Mac. So I don't want to hear the comments about how I'm a Mac fanboy. I might be, but I also like I said, I have a PC and I like PC. I like both, I would say equally. But I'm going to take you down. And I just thought it was ironic that this was a sketch. And this is back when I still hated Mac. And you hate Mac. So you actually really do. So
I don't know if you can... I don't know if that's a true statement.
You're not going to have as much of an issue fighting against Mac as I'm going to have fighting against PC. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so I'm going to kick this off.
Kick it.
So, at work, everybody but my boss uses a Mac. Everybody. And so I asked around. I have my reasons for using a Mac at work.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. Obviously, a lot of people know that video editing in general is a smoother process on Mac because of the various codecs that it has that just aren't available on PC. Let me get my points across. You can't just laugh at me. You better be bringing the heat. So, I talked to one of the coders at work, programmers, and he said, I was surprised that they use Macs for that. And he told me, he said, it's because of all the programming language you get. That it's kind of become the norm to program on Macs.
What?
Yes.
That don't make no.
Yes. And granted, they have Windows 8 on their Macs, but this isn't a operating system discussion. This is hardware versus hardware. What's better? And so my first point is that you have all the tools available because you can use both Windows and Mac OS on a Mac, and you can't do that on a PC. And like I said, with codecs, you get ProRes. With obviously programming language, you get more fonts. You get Helvetica, whereas you can't even get that on PC. So I mean, it's just a more, I guess, out of the box. You get so much more that you can't get on PC. Go. First point.
That is true, Aaron. I'll give you that. But the big problem with that is that you're on.
Okay. You got your punch in. I'm gonna have to beat that out. But that's the last punch you get of that. You have to come with legitimate points. I don't want to just hear that my Mac's a doorstop. That you need to bring arguments because you need to convince me that I should not buy another MacBook Pro. In the coming year. Do you have a point? That was my first point. I have a lot of points, so you better be coming with the heat.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much true. You can boot in the Windows if you have Mac, so...
Do you have a point that why PC is better? This is a bit debate. Are you gonna... Do you have any things why PC is better, in your opinion?
I mean, am I supposed to be completely biased?
Yes!
Straight PC?
Yes. I've already shown that I'm somewhat biased already towards both, and that I'm specifically only going for Mac. I will never buy another PC laptop, ever, after getting this, and seeing that it's a million times better than what I had in my Dell. You're upsetting the dogs. Do you have a point? Do you want me to go? I'm going to keep going because you don't have any points. I'm already winning this fight. You guys judge on YouTube. Reliability. Now, PC has, obviously everybody knows, the blue screen of death. Mac doesn't have the blue screen of death. It's more of a gray screen of death. I never get it. I've had this thing for 3 years and I've never gotten it. Does it slow down? Do I need to run utilities and stuff? Do I need to maybe restart it once in a while? Yes. If I left my PC on 24/7 like I do my Mac, it would crap out within a day and a half. I'd have to restart it and then probably run, this, whatever, this thing.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a flash-based operating system and hardware, the combination. So it doesn't necessarily need to shut down and restart every day like a PC does.
That story is like, that's an anecdote. Like, that's your personal experience. I have a computer at home. I don't turn it off.
And it probably runs slow.
Not really.
Are you video editing on it? Are you playing like super intense games on it?
No.
Well, then that's probably why. Because you're running
so for my uses.
But a lot of people, you're arguing for PC for everybody.
Okay.
Just like I am. I'm not a programmer.
You were just saying that if you have a PC, you have to restart it daily. Period. That's not true. If you want
it to stay at the top performance.
You said your computer would just crap out and have to restart.
Yeah, in my experience, it would crap out because it's not running optimally at 100%, which is what I need it to run at for me to be able to work smoothly.
Okay, and what's your definition of it crapping out?
Starting to slow down my workflow, and all of a sudden it's taking longer to move stuff around. And
okay, because from what you were saying, it sounded like you're implying that it would just blue screen out, like if you just left it on.
Well, no, I mean they just blue screen randomly, no matter what you're doing.
What?
PCs are blue screen, And okay, so I'll move on to my next point for why that might be. So, this is specifically when we're talking about a MacBook. Everybody says, oh, the specs are the same, but the PC is half the price. Okay, fine, sure, the specs are the same. Will it run at the same caliber, though? I argue that it will not. It will not run at the same caliber because Apple has done tireless research in developing their own proprietary parts and working with Intel and AMD and graphics solutions and all that stuff to make parts that work exactly as they're meant to together for the operating system that you're using. PC does not do that. They just throw in the things, they just throw in the fastest things, and maybe it might be faster or the same on paper and cheaper, but the battery life is not going to be as good. The performance and reliability aren't going to be as good. It's going to blue screen more because the graphics card's too fast for the memory, or whereas Mac is putting a lot of research into how the puzzle fits together. And this, I didn't even really think about this until a coworker told me this, and it's true. And I think that's why I like my MacBook Pro so much better than I liked my Dell Inspiron. Because my Dell Inspiron, yeah, it had a fast graphics card, but the RAM sucked, and the CPU ran super hot, and the fan broke down every 6 months, and I got it replaced twice before my warranty ran out, because it was not balanced. Mac, it's double the price, but they spend so much money balancing it. So that maybe the specs are the same, but you can't just look at it on paper. You got the quality of the parts, how they work together, how they fit together. Go.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's like a console.
So do you want to use Mac? Or are you arguing for PC?
What?
Do you want to buy a Mac? You're agreeing with me.
Well, how am I supposed to refute a point that's true? Like, it's just like consoles. Like,
yeah, but
if you look at like an Xbox or something like that, like it's the same thing. You have software that's designed specifically for that Xbox, the hardware, everything. That's a whole package.
Mm-hmm.
So like for instance, people like PC gamers versus console gamers.
But obviously, Xbox 360 Red Death all the time. PS3 had initial issues in the first couple batches, and Xbox One's been having issues.
Yeah, dude, everything's gonna have issues.
So, I mean, when they're making a laptop, when PC is making a laptop, Inspiron, whatever, they're trying to balance it. They're just not as good as Apple at doing it. And they're not willing to put in the extra labor and spend the extra money on parts because they know that the consumer doesn't want to pay the same price as Apple for their product. They're undercutting the price by half with the same specs. And that's the argument I hear all the time. Half the specs, or the same specs and half the price. Like, that's the argument I hear. But specifically when it comes to laptops, and you're not really touching it, you're not really upgrading it at any point. What you buy is what you get. You can upgrade it, but when it just works, and every part works, and nothing fails until the computer itself is just dead. That's the reliability of a Mac. I'm gonna pick up this mic and drop it. Come on, I have more arguments for PC in my head. Are you gonna argue for PC?
Well,
You're laying all the PC fanboys out. Oh, we play video games, blah, blah, blah. Come on, is there anything you have for me?
I mean, I didn't really bring points.
Oh man, you just thought this was gonna be a cakewalk. You're like, oh, he's arguing for Mac, he has no chance.
No,
I'm bringing the heat, son.
I didn't think I was going to be representing PC specifically.
It says, Colton fighting for PC on the rundown. What point of that did you not realize you're fighting for PC?
I guess that's true.
Are you going to give me any points? I already just fed you a point.
What?
For how PC is better.
What?
And why I still own a PC and why I still use, what I mainly use it for.
Oh, for gaming?
For video game. I mean, you can't play shit on a Mac.
You can play some games on Mac.
I mean, I've played a few games on a Mac, and it's just not an enjoyable experience. Not only is it not the architecture isn't meant for it, like it is on a PC, but also the freaking developers aren't focused. Like, there's no Steam for Mac. Like, they're not focused on making stuff. Wait, is there Steam for Mac? I don't know. But they're not, it feels like there's not as many people developing for Mac. They might have like, oh, and we have a Mac version. Like EVE Online. Oh, we have a Mac version. And it's always broken, the launcher never works, and all this stuff. And like, we only have like one guy working on it, and he only comes in the office once a week or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a much smaller market for gaming. Why am I arguing for your PC?
I don't know.
Come on. Okay. I've talked about this before. This has to do with, obviously. So, laptops have been having trackpads for 15 years now. They've always had little trackpads. I didn't realize how useful a trackpad was until I used a glass encased Apple trackpad. They get the trackpad right. It's accurate, it doesn't jitter around, it's smooth, it's nice to use. I prefer using this than a mouse. That's a key point to a laptop. It's something I don't need to bring a mouse with me. I could feel like I could do work just as fast with the trackpad. PCs, you cannot. There is not that reliability there for trackpads.
I'm sure there's some PC laptop out there that has.
Nobody has emulated it perfectly. First of all, it's patented, so that's probably why they haven't been able to, copy it basically. But they haven't come out with a better solution. And now their new line is having a force touch. So just like how I can force touch my Apple Watch, now there's going to be force touch for the new trackpads and all the new Macs, which is already out. So they're adding another layer, another button, is a third mouse key essentially.
So you're saying there's no PC trackpad out there that's as good as that?
No, not even close.
Where do you get that information?
So when you walk by the Apple Store in Fashion Valley, San Diego, and you see, 100 people in there, and then you walk to the lonely PC store right next to it, which has like 5 people that are basically actors pretending to be shopping, and you go try a trackpad. Just try. I did it. I did this 2 weeks ago. On Mother's Day, I was helping my mom get an iPhone, and I went in and I messed with the PCs. I couldn't believe that they still hadn't caught up to how nice this feels, and this is 3 years old, and now they have a new one, like I said, with the Force Touch.
So you went and tried all the premier PC trackpads then?
I tried enough to know that just in general they're still crap. Whereas every Mac comes with the same trackpad and they're all good. That's like where it's like they start the computer here and then they build it outward. I know that's not true, but that's what there's no different levels. they're all the same and they're all really good and everybody's used to them, and then now they're just making them better.
Okay. So I guess I'll assume that PC hasn't made a trackpad as good as that because you say so.
Is that your argument?
Well, how can I know for sure that there isn't a trackpad that matches that quality up there?
I guess you don't, but I'm telling you that in my experience, trackpads on PCs have sucked compared to this, and this was like night and day. Like I didn't even realize I wanted to use a trackpad.
Okay, that's a more true statement.
Okay, so another thing about precision parts, we talked about the pieces of the puzzle. It's also a blend of software and hardware. So PC, you have all these different manufacturers competing for Windows-based computers. Mac, there's only one operating system, obviously, and they're all made by the same manufacturer. And it might seem like a monopoly, but because they have that control and they have their own proprietary operating system, which I know the knock on Apple has been proprietary, but there is an argument for it. The better battery life, the faster, the more reliability, the longer life of the computer. I have friends at work that have had their Mac for 5 years and it has not slowed down. And the only upgrade they made was taking out their disk drive, which nobody uses anymore, and replacing with a solid state. Just simple things that have been able to... I mean, my Dell was basically done after 3 years. It made it 5 years, 4.5, I guess, after, I got rid of it right after college. But, it was definitely, like I said, the fan was breaking all the time. But basically the last couple years I didn't have a fan at all. So when you have the nice blend of the operating system working with the hardware, and everybody, the team works in the same building, and like you have that continuity, you get much better results. And that's why Mac is better than PC.
Yeah, that is nice, but I mean, what happens when you need to do a simple repair? Like, what if you wanted to replace the battery on that? Or what if, like, you had some dead pixels?
So, unlike Dell or these other, undercutting manufacturers and companies, you can buy AppleCare, and you'll get a 3-year warranty, and that's a no questions asked. Like, for instance, on this one, a year, I know after about 6 months of having it, I noticed the retina screen was the first retina screen. I noticed that it was burning in, and I took it in, and no questions asked, they replaced the entire screen. This screen is expensive to replace. I mean, the screen, just to get the screen as an upgrade was $300 at the time. So the whole screen itself is probably pretty expensive for them to replace, and they did it no questions asked.
Okay, so what happens when the warranty runs out? Like, it's just...
After 3 years?
It's just dead then?
Well, I mean, if it dies between year 3 and 5, then yes, I guess so. I mean, you can have it repaired. You might not be able to DIY it yourself, especially like a computer like this, which each part is, you can't just buy them aftermarket. I'm sure eBay, you can do it. I'm sure someone like me could figure out how to, replace the fan in this if it broke.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem is with the construction of some of these Apple products, like the screen is glued onto the glass and stuff like that. So
that's definitely true.
You can't, like, repair it yourself.
But I mean, I would say that that's the case with most laptops in general. Is they're just harder to repair compared to a desktop.
But I mean, no, like that. There's a point between being impossible to repair by yourself and being hard to repair. And like, I would argue that most laptops, they're not even that complicated. Like a PC laptop. Like for instance, my screen. I recently broke my screen, and what I had to do, I went and bought another screen, took out a few screws, and replaced the screen. Plugged in the cable, and it's good to go.
Yeah. And, I mean, I don't have to do any of that if I'm under warranty. Which,
well,
like
nobody would have to do anything of that if everything's under warranty. I could get a warranty.
No, but you can't get the same kind of warranty that Apple offers. They're known for their customer service. You go into the Genius Bar and they help you out. Like, you just do not get this at the PC store. Maybe you can mail it in and they'll send it back 4 weeks later, where my screen is burning in, let me go take it in after work and pick it up the next morning, and then that's no questions asked, they replaced a $500 screen. Like, that is customer service. Like, we're not even talking about customer service, right? Because it's kind of unfair to compare Apple as a single company to 5 different brands, because they're all different, but they're all, in my opinion, pretty crappy. And you're not going to find that kind of customer service with them. And yeah, if it's out of warranty, it's going to be harder to fix, but it's not impossible to fix. And You might have to take it in and pay to have it get fixed, but
Yeah, I don't think I could get my laptop repaired in a day under warranty.
The odds of you having how many times you're going to have to fix your PC versus how many times I would have to fix this Mac or send it in to be fixed, just unquantifiable. It is, because the reason it's like a car. If you fix the transmission, then the engine's going to break because you're going to have a new transmission, and then that's going to be running pristine, and then it's going to expose the weakness of your engine starting to break down. The problem with PC is that your fan breaks, and all of a sudden your CPU starts overheating a little bit, and that is next to the memory, which is getting hot, and that actually breaks. And so it's a domino effect. And you have to agree with me here that this is less likely to have that issue because everything is made and researched and pieced together closer to perfect, much closer to perfect than a PC. And so it's less likely that one part's going to fail and then the rest of it's going to kind of fall apart one by one. Yes, you can replace your RAM if it breaks. But then what are you going to do because you had to fix that and the new RAM, that's going to affect how the CPU is running, and that starts to break down, or the GPU, or whatever. These are domino effects. I've experienced this with PCs. My PC, which I upgrade every year, I upgrade one piece. As soon as I upgrade my video card, all of a sudden my CPU starts, slowing down, and I start seeing the cracks.
I'm not an expert on electronics like that. I'm not exactly sure if replacing the RAM would suddenly put
this is an example, but there is, if you replace any piece of hardware with a new piece of hardware, it's going to adversely affect the pieces around it most of the time. Whether it be heat generation, whatever, exposing how slow it is now and how it's unbalanced.
Okay, yeah, I guess that might be true, but at least I have the freedom to replace the parts on my own easily.
Yeah,
or upgrade them if I want.
How much? I mean,
you buy that, and you're locked into that. Now you have to wait for the next year for the new model to come out. It's like, oh, with this new shiny stuff, you're like.
I feel like this argument falls on deaf ears when we're talking about laptops. PCs, yes, I have a desktop. I'm arguing for Mac. I would never get a Mac Pro. Yes, you can upgrade Mac Pros, and the new models are a little harder to upgrade and stuff. They're proprietary parts, and you can't just use any one piece. But maybe that's for a good reason. The pieces to the puzzle. If everything fits together smoothly and it's meant for the operating system and all that stuff, maybe you get more life out of your computer. Maybe you buy 2 computers for every one Mac I buy. Maybe you have to fix your computer for every 4 times I have to send this into Apple Care, whatever. It adds up, and it's double the price, but at the end of the day, is it really going to be double the price? I think that's the argument. That's the argument I have to, because that's the argument everybody has against Mac, is that it's too expensive. And you get what you pay for. Speaking of getting what you pay for, when you get a PC, I don't know, I haven't bought a PC in a while. Do you get any apps with it? Does it come with anything useful other than the native Windows 7 or 8, apps like Movie Maker and stuff?
Dude, if you're...
No, hold on. Because this comes with very useful apps. It comes with GarageBand, which is basically kind of like your Fruity Loops. It's a multi-suite, composer thing. And you can download tracks for free, like sound and synthetics and things that you can use, copyright free. And it comes with, obviously, iMovie and iPhoto and it's basic editing things that someone who's not going to pay $50 a month for Adobe would just like to have the moment they get their computer, so they can kind of do whatever they want with it. Make videos, edit photos, make music, go on the internet. I mean, it comes with Safari. I know obviously PC comes with Internet Explorer,
yeah.
But we all know Internet Explorer is literally the worst browser ever made. So,
okay, but
tell me, is there any apps?
How often do you use those apps?
Well, obviously, like I said, for me, I have Adobe, so I'm not going to use those as much. I use GarageBand because I don't have another software for that. But for the average person who's just getting it and doesn't want to pay for Adobe, they're getting all these things included. They don't have to download them. They come ready to go. So out of the box, it's just such a better user experience. And everybody says, oh, Macs are for dumb people. They're not for dumb people. They can be used by dumb people who are not tech savvy. That doesn't mean that coders and programmers aren't also using Macs.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to backtrack a little bit. You're saying the programmers at your work or something use a Mac, and then you're surprised about that?
I was surprised about that. I didn't realize that the library of languages for coding and programming was so much more expansive in a Mac. And not to mention that when you use Parallels, you can actually use both operating systems. So you're not tied down to just using Windows. You can use either or. And I mean, that is just something that, like, I imagine, you know, within the next 10, 20 years, as long as Apple keeps going the way it's going, that all businesses will only use Macs, because unless we're talking about games, where is PC better than Mac? I mean, price, yes, but if we're talking about replacing computers every 3 years versus every 5 years, does the price really matter as much? That's kind of my whole point.
Well, okay, you're talking about business and stuff. Like, what do most businesses use right now?
PCs, because they're cheaper.
Yeah, so
but then
that's going to take a large change in order to go over to Mac and change all that stuff. You know how many people use, like Microsoft Office and Outlook.
But this has all that stuff. They have Mac versions of all those programs, and it's not like... See, if Windows should come with those for free, that's where they're messing up. Why aren't all PCs coming with Microsoft Office? It's like you got to pay extra to get the student version when you go to college. They should be coming with that, and then that would give them a huge advantage in terms of apps out of the box that you don't even have to worry about buying. Because a lot of people only get a computer, the only software they end up buying is Microsoft Office, because they need to use it for work. Why isn't it coming with that? If you're Microsoft, why aren't all your PCs coming with that? That just seems ridiculous to me when they're including GarageBand and these other programs out of the box.
Maybe to cut costs and...
Well, obviously, because that's what they're competing on is the cost, and that's my point. I hate when people say, well, the specs are the same, it's double the price. I've just told you my argument for why that is just simply not relevant. It's a short-term cost savings when repairs and breaking down and more software that you're going to have to buy and all this stuff comes into the equation.
Okay, but I mean, somebody looking to squeeze every penny off the dollar could get more in the long run. Well,
not in the long run.
Yeah, I think they could, because you keep talking about how the components just break down, but that's on a case-by-case basis. Like, it doesn't happen. Like, you don't buy it and it's guaranteed because of PC. Yeah, it's just gonna poop.
Some models, yes.
Some models, yes, Aaron, but not all PCs. And
why are you yelling at me? Jesus.
And you're thinking about software, dude. You can just pirate this stuff. You can download. Like, if you're really that, like, if you need it that badly, you can just take it off the internet.
Oh, and the average person getting a computer to go to college with or whatever is going to be able to do that and be willing to do that. Like, that's what we were coming down to. Oh, just go pirate it and go risk getting malware and not knowing what to do if it happens. And that seems like a pretty big leap, dude. I mean, when we're talking about coming with it and versus, oh, well, just go get, go illegally download it.
Okay, so
that's a pretty big leap.
Yeah, I did not say the average person would do that. I said a person looking to get every penny out of their dollar, which doesn't necessarily imply to, like, an average person. I mean, an average person, would they be sitting here arguing versus PC versus Mac? No, they're just going to go get something. Like, the people who are going to be arguing this are people who are, like, tech savvy, And I'm pretty sure somebody who really cares about something like that would be able to go out there on a computer and download whatever software they want.
I have one last pipe bomb on my page. It's my ace in the hole.
Okay.
I'm not going to drop it right now. We're almost done. But all I want to say is that you've known me for a long time.
Yeah.
I used to hate on Mac just as much as you did. I couldn't believe when my parents got an iPad for the first time until I tried it. And then I got my own, and then I got my computer. And honestly, I like both. I prefer Mac. There's some things I can't do on it. I can't play games. I can't render 3D. I mean, I can. It's just not enjoyable. I like building my own stuff. I like having my computer that I upgrade one part a year and like kind of make a little bit better every year. It's a supercomputer. It's really expensive. I do not have as good of an experience on my PC as I do on Mac. User experience is super important. This is coming from someone who hated on Mac, who used all the excuses that I'm countering today. It's too expensive. It's for dumb people who don't know how to use computers and customize stuff. How often do I actually customize stuff on my PC? Once in a while. Do I overclock? Yeah. You know, do I do little things? Yeah, but do I really need to? Not really. It's overrated. Unless you're a connoisseur and you're doing that and you're running liquid cool and you're doing all this stuff every day and doing things that Mac just won't allow you to do because they lock you out of, because they want their hardware to last a long time. By the way, I overclocked my CPU. I need to get a new one now. Not because I didn't know what I was doing, but because this is not meant to happen. And that adversely affects other parts that I had to upgrade. So the user experience at the end of the day, 10 times better on a Mac. My final point, Windows Vista. All right, folks, we're done here.
Wait. So
get your last soliloquy and I'll let you go.
Yeah, I just want you to elaborate exactly why the user experience is so much better on a Mac for you.
We've covered this the whole argument.
Oh, you're just talking about the overall thing?
How it comes ready out of the box, how I don't have to worry about things breaking down, how, you know, in the middle of college, when I'm away for college, I have to come back and get the fan fixed, and then they also replace the motherboard, which is, you know, broke everything else, and then it's out of warranty, and then there's no warranty extended options that are reasonable, and, you know, basically take it to the store and pick it up the next day. They just don't have that. The user experience is so much better. And I feel like I'm buying a solid product, not something that's flimsy in one area and the screen's gonna break. I mean, how many times you had a screen, didn't your screen hinge break on your first Dell? Or no, you had HP or something.
Yeah, he was a Packard.
But didn't it break? Just little things like that. There's just, I don't even have to worry about it because I know that freaking designers that are paid millions of dollars every year design this thing. A team of them, the best designers in the world in technology, design this thing, and it's not going to break just because through attrition. It might break if I drop it, but it's not going to just fall apart. It's not made cheap. There's no, to steal the quote from Wendy's, we don't cut corners. And that's how I feel. Do you have anything to say about PC?
Yeah, they have freedom, dude. You can sit there in your little commie. You can sit there in your little commie. Oh no, you're brainwashed Mac world or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're freaking Americans.
Low blow. Low blow. You're going for all these abstract arguments. I laid it down. I laid the smack down. Windows Vista.
Yeah.
Never forget. Okay?
Okay, dude. No, use Vista.
I've used it. Never forget. I'm pretty sure everybody in my class of college had Windows Vista because that's when it came out, 2007. So we all had Windows Vista on our computers. It wasn't until 2009-10 when Windows 7 came out and I got my next computer.
It's okay. We all make mistakes. That's how we learn, man. That's how you get better. User
experience, baby. So this podcast was brought to you by Apple Inc. And not PC. No, it wasn't. But if any of you are still listening, hopefully you enjoyed. Obviously, we were super excited about the A7r II. Man, if only you could get that camera. If you can get the A7r II, that's such a sick. Oh man, I can't believe they did that. I bet Canon is sweating it right now. They're like, oh, we're gonna come out with this like 50 megapixel camera. It doesn't even shoot 4K, dude. Like, come on. Like, how are they that far behind? We're gonna have a discussion about why Canon sucks next episode. But as a little teaser, I'll give you the main thing that's screwing them over. They released the 5DX the 1DX. They released that probably 2012, right around the time that the Canon 5D Mark II was coming out, 3, and it was a 4K camera. It was one of the first 4K DSLR style cameras. Do you know how much? Do you remember how much that cost? How much it still costs to this day? Over $10,000. Who wants to buy a DSLR form factor camera for $10,000? So they basically shot themselves in the foot. They made that. Some people bought it. I mean, most people didn't. Most college students, they couldn't afford that. I can't afford that. What, you know, it was just completely. That's basically getting into the super high professional commercial area. That at that point, why not just get a Red Epic? Why not just get the good Canon C300? You know, why get that camera? And yeah, it was one of the first to shoot 4K, but they're still using that as their DSLR 4K camera. So they're not going to come out with a 5D Mark IV with 4K because no one's going to buy the 1DX if there's a camera for a third the price shooting 4K. Mm-hmm. So they basically shot themselves in the foot. So that's a little teaser. We're gonna really hate on Canon because Sony is just blowing them away. They're coming out with a new model every year and a half. They're revisiting it every year and a half, which is just awesome. Where you got to wait every 4 years to get a new 5D. And in 4K, like I thought, and that was my wildest dreams it would have that, but I didn't even know this camera would have that. So that's pretty exciting. Mm-hmm. So some things to look forward to. Like I said, about a month from now, I'll be getting my 85mm. I'm gonna do a review on that. Maybe take some portraits. You always want to do that portrait where you're like,
yes, yeah.
We should do that with that camera. Yeah. That'd be a good camera to do it. Yeah, they'll be like, oh, dude, I could just put it on the wall right there.
Yeah. Totally.
All right. Rate, comment, subscribe on iTunes. Subscribe on YouTube if you're not. Like the video. If you have any questions, send them on Twitter via @mentions @FilmIn5D. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.